So it says like this: Vaydaber Hashem Moshe lemor Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen Heshiv es Chamasi me'al bnei Yisrael. Pinchas, the son of Elazar, son of Aaron HaKohen, turned back in a wrath from the bnei Yisrael. Bekano es kinasi b'socham, and he took my zealousness, my vengeance. How does he translate? He avenged my vengeance among them. The word kinasi is it's a tricky word to translate. The vengeance is the best they could do. I did not destroy the Bnei Yisrael in my state of wrath. Now, the first question you got to deal with is, why does it emphasize Pinchas, the son of Elazar, the son of Aaron HaKohen? We know who Pinchas is. So why does it trace him right now? It traces him back to Aaron HaKohen. So unfortunately explain, and this is yet another example of that theme that we've spoken about, that Pinchas is a grandson of Aaron HaKohen. And what was Aaron HaKohen's motto in life? And he says in Pirkei Avos, he's the peace lover. Aaron is the peace lover. So what happens? Pinchas, who's a grandson of Aaron, and Kohanim didn't even have weapons normally, because Kohanim didn't go to war. So you have a man who this is totally out of character for him, and goes and he perpetrates the single most violent act that we find described in the Torah. So it's again a person going against their nature, which we've spoken about many times, that the mark of a person and a personality is that you're able to go against what your nature is. To go with your nature, anybody could do. Then go with your nature, anybody could do. The trick is, nowadays they talk about comfort zones. It's not in my comfort zone. Comfort zone is a selfish, self-centered word created by a selfish, self-centered society. Right? That's what and they just give it a certain justification. They give it a certain, sounds noble. Well, it's not in my comfort zone. Just say, I'm selfish and I don't feel like helping you. Right? No, it's not my comfort zone. David, I told people, growing up, you could relate to this. I told people, if I would have ever said to my father, Dad, well, it's actually not in my comfort zone. I would have gotten it right in the comfort zone. Right? There was no comfort zone business in those days. Part of being an adult is that it's not in your, and when you got to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and take care of your baby, that's also not in your comfort zone. And when you got to go watch your wife spend money, that's also not in your comfort zone. A lot of things aren't in your comfort zone. And you got to go to work every day. That's also not in your, what's comfort zone business? It's just a selfishness. And people say, well, I'll move out of my comfort zone. It's such a selfish terminology. The other term that drives me nuts is that I reached out to him. I'll reach out to somebody. Well, you just go, I'll contact him, right? Reaching out makes it sound like I'm the beggar, and you, in the goodness of your heart, will have the what do you call it, the sympathy enough to speak to a plebe like me. Right? That's what it sounds like, reaching out. What was the reaching out business? What happened to contacting people? And it drives all these expressions. It's a way of, I'm taking a power nap. Tell me, you want to go to sleep? You're tired. Oh, it's a power nap. Oh, I see. It's because you called it a power nap. Right? It's my power snack. You're a Baltaiva. Just say you're a Baltaiva. A power snack. Everything that got a label now to give it that sound of, ooh, he's doing something noble. Not doing something noble. You're a normal human being who contacts people, and you do things that are difficult for you, and you take a nap when you're tired. Right? That's what you do. What's with all the fancy terminology? This is all a way of giving it that ring of, ooh, that's so impressive. Ooh, it's a power nap. Oh, it's a power. What does a power nap mean? It means that you're coming down from your drug habit and you need to go to sleep. That's what a power nap is. So good, I got that off my chest. So here the Torah, number one, is emphasizing, who does he come from? Pinchas is a descendant of Aaron HaKohen. The son of Aaron HaKohen. This is completely out of character of him. Now, watch this. You want to say, now we'll have a little bit of fun. Turn back for a second to Parshas Truma. Okay, just keep your finger on the place here. Yeah.
Page 445.
440, not in English, in the Hebrew. 444. Correct. Okay. No, sorry, wrong parsha. Kisisa. Towards the end. Sorry.
Go to chat.
I'll tell you in a second, Leah. 484. Okay. So here the Torah is talking about collecting the half shekel coin from the Jewish people. Right? They're going to have to count the Jewish people by everybody donating a machatzis shekel, a half shekel coin. Now look at the third line on 484. It says, Zeyitnu kol ha'over al pekudim, this is what they should give. Machatzis hashekel b'shekel hakodesh. See where it says that word machatzis? Mm-hmm. Okay, a half shekel coin. Now look at that word machatzis very well. The middle letter of machatzis is what? A tzaddik. Tzaddik obviously stands for what word in Hebrew? Tzedakah, right? Tzedakah. And we're talking about making donations here. They're donating to the temple. They're donating the half shekel coin. Now, you ever heard the pasuk that says, Tzedakah tatzil mimavis? Charity saves from death. And that's why people give a lot of tzedakah on Erev Yom Kippur. When we go on trial for our lives, people give tzedakah. Tzedakah tatzil mimavis. Why is that? Why is it that charity saves a person from death? So there are two different explanations. Why does tzedakah, what's the merit of giving tzedakah that could actually cause a person who perhaps, like Kadosh Baruch Hu, has decided that his time is up and he could get a reprieve by giving tzedakah? Why should tzedakah get a person a reprieve? The answer is twofold. Number one, imagine there's a poor man, and this poor man has 9 pennies. I'm only using pennies or I use prutos, whatever it is. The guy is starving to death. And you give him 1 penny, or let's say he's got 45 cents. You give him a nickel. Now he's got 50 cents and he could buy a roll. And by eating this roll, he now has nutrition that keeps him alive. Then the next day he finds more bread, and eventually his situation changed. What kept him alive? Your tzedakah kept him alive. So mida keneged mida, since you gave a person life, therefore tzedakah tatzil mimos, charity saved your life. By giving money, you literally could be saving a person's life by giving him tzedakah. Wow. So tzedakah tatzil mimos, number one. Number two, where did he get money from? Where does a person normally get money from? You get money by working. Working means you've given up your time to earn that money. That you spend time earning money. Well, if you spend time earning money, your time is your life. That means I've given away part of my life to earn this $20. Then I give this $20 to a poor man. So what have I given him? I've given him part of my life. So tzedakah tatzil mimavis. Tzedakah because mida keneged mida, you've given up part of your life. So you get the tzedakah. Okay? That's the idea. Now, look at that word machatzis. And we're describing the coin that the Jewish people give, as tzedakah. You don't have a chumash, Shmuel? You don't have a chumash? Oh, you got one. Okay. So in the middle letter is tzaddik, which stands for tzedakah. Look at the 2 letters on either side of that tzaddik. What do you have? A ches and a yud, which stands for what? Chai, life. Look at the 2 outside letters. Mem and a tuf, which is mace, which is death. Tzedakah brings life closer, and it moves death farther away.
Wow.
Okay, now turn back to where we are here. Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen, Heishiv es chamasi, he turned back my wrath. Look at that word chamasi. Look at the 2 middle letters in chamasi. Mace, death. When Hashem's wrath is unleashed, wow. Mace is in the middle. And look at the outside letters are chai. That means death is brought closer and life is farther away. And therefore, Pinchas turned back my wrath. He turned back my wrath. In other words, he pushed away death and brought closer life. Wow. Now, look at the very next pasuk. L'chein emor, therefore Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, say to Pinchas, Hineni nosein lo es brisi shalom, I'm giving him my covenant of peace. What is this covenant of peace? The most common understanding is that Pinchas will live forever. Pinchas will never die, and he turns into whom? Eventually, he becomes Eliyahu Hanavi. Pinchas becomes Eliyahu. And Eliyahu Hanavi never died. He goes up, he ascends Shemayim in the flaming chariot. He never dies human death as we understand it. Pinchas turns into Eliyahu Hanavi. That's one understanding. The other understanding is, Hineni nosein lo es brisi shalom, I'm going to give him my covenant of peace, is that there's always a concern if you kill somebody, especially if you spear somebody, there's always concern of revenge. Right? What's his family going to do? What's Zimri's family going to do they're not going to be too pleased that Pinchas killed the family, killed their brother. So Hashem says, he tell Pinchas he has nothing to worry about. The family is not going to. What do you call it? The family is not going to take revenge. Nobody's going to come after Pinchas. He could rest easy. Now, do you see a certain irony over here? Imagine the following. In what do you call it? I told you in August 6th, 1945. The worst place in the world to be was where? In August 6th, 1945. What's that?
Germany. Berlin?
No. I'd say there's one place where it's on August 6th, 1945.
Nagasaki?
Close.
Hiroshima?
That's correct. Hiroshima on August 6th, 1945 was a real bad place to be. August 9th, 1945, the worst place to be was Nagasaki, right? So Hiroshima was bombed on August 6, 1945, and I think to this day they don't know how many people got killed. They estimate it was 100,000, and then there were people with fallout, and people had long-term. They don't have any idea how many people were killed. Whatever it was a lot. Okay? Now, what happened as a result of the atomic bomb? The atomic bomb essentially put an end to World War II. That put an end to certainly the Japanese World War II. That's what the Japanese took them a little while to learn. Right? It took a second one to convince them. Hey guys, listen, for your own good, surrender, unconditional surrender. Okay. What award would you give the pilot of the plane or the people on the plane who dropped that bomb? What award would you give them? Give them an award. What award would you give them? I can tell you what award no one in the world would give them nowadays. No one would give them the Nobel Peace Prize. Right? They give them the Purple Heart, the bravery, whatever Zachen they got to give out over there. No one would say, yes, they get the Nobel, maybe the Nobel Peace Prize, right? Because everybody was blown to pieces. But nobody's going to give them the Nobel Peace Prize. And nobody would think to give them a Nobel Peace Prize. That's incorrect. Look what the Torah gives. Pinchas commits the single most violent act in the Torah. And what did he get? And he also says, Bris Shalom. He made Shalom. Why? Because now he made Shalom between Hashem and Klal Yisrael, so to speak. There was a situation of wrath. So he gets a peace prize. He gets the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, if you stop and think, you see how the Torah views things as differently than somebody else. If Reuven is chasing Shimon to kill him, you have an obligation to intervene. So you kill Reuven. So what should you get this award, that award. You did an act of peace. You did the right thing. And arguably, that bomb saved lives. Because had they not dropped that bomb, a lot more people would have gotten killed. So again, I'm not saying whether they should have dropped the bomb, not dropped the bomb. I'm just saying, from that perspective, let's say you knew for a fact that by doing that, you're going to save more lives. And that was, what's the name? That was Truman's attitude was, listen, this is war. It's our country against your country. If anybody's going to die, let your people die. Our people shouldn't die. That was Truman's attitude, which has always been the attitude in the world. People say, well, it's not fair. The citizens didn't go to war. They go, yeah, that's the rules of war. The rules is your country went to war. You go, you get it with your country. That's the way, yeah.
It's interesting because the Japanese had suicide bombers, so they weren't concerned about their life. They were concerned about killing the enemy.
Right.
Whereas Americans wouldn't do something.
Well, that's right. They had no rules, or they played by different rules. The point is that Pinchas gets a bris shalom. He gets a bris shalom because an act doing the right thing is what's called shalom. Rav Dessler says, and we mentioned this in the past, truth is not saying what we consider accurate. Truth is saying the right thing. Truth is saying the right thing. And the classic example the Gemara gives us when somebody's getting married, what do you say? Kala, so it's a machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel say, ooh, you lay it on thick. Yeah. Kala nova, what a wonderful girl. What a terrific girl. Shammai says, Kala kamoshi, don't go exaggerating. If you find a good quality, say it. Other than that, don't go making things up. And we paskin like Hillel. Because the guy who's marrying her thinks she's terrific, even if you think it's the last girl in the world you would marry. Even if she was the last girl in the world, you wouldn't marry her, right? Even so, this guy thinks she's terrific, so you say, that's the right thing to say. What? That's the right thing. That becomes truth. That becomes truth. So, Pinchas gets brisi shalom. Now, the haisa lo zar achar bris kuhuna solom. he in his offspring will have the covenant of kahuna. Pinchas only becomes a Kohen at this point. And not only that, his descendants are going to be the Kohanim Gedolim come from Pinchas. That's what the sources say. That's what he earned with this one action. Now, take a look at the next. V'shem ish Yisrael hamukeh, the name of the Jewish man who got smitten, Asher Huka es Habidyanis, who was killed with the Midianite woman. The word es can mean with in Hebrew. It means es, it means this thing, and it also means with. Zimri ben Salu. His name was Zimri, Nasi Beis of Shimoni. He was the prince of the house of Shimon. V'shem ha'isha habuka hamidyanis Kozbi bas Tzur. Her name was Kozbi, the daughter of Tzur, Rosh Umos Beis of B'Midyanu. Now, the question is like this. First of all, why does it only mention their names here? Why didn't it mention them in the previous parsha? Why does it say in the previous parsha it says there was a man? It says Vihine and Pasuk Vav on the previous page on 874, 8 lines at the bottom. Vihine ish mi b'nei Yisrael, a man from the b'nei Yisrael came along, and he took a woman. And here it names him, and it says who he was. He was the prince of the house of Shimon, and she was the daughter of Tzur, who's one of the heads of the one of the what do they call tribesmen? What do they call the princes of the house of Midian? Why does it only say it here? Why didn't it say it in the previous parsha? What do you say?
He was trying to withhold their names because it was not proper for.
So why does it tell it this here? Why does it tell it here? Why didn't he tell us right when it happened? Why does it tell us here? Nothing?
Well, maybe while it was happening, it would have been embarrassing to say, this is what he was doing. But then after the fact...
That's what Leora is saying. Better than that. Better than that.
The focus here should be on the act of Pinchas, not on the people...
Getting closer. Warming up. My grandkids love that game. Hot, cold, hot, cold. They just love it. I'm great at it. The what do you call it? The what's the answer? The answer is that the Torah is emphasizing there are two reasons a person could be motivated to yes do or not do something. The yes is what we find all the time. People want to become famous or they want to become infamous. And the way to get your name out there is shoot a celebrity. If you shoot a celebrity or a president or somebody famous, then people are going to hear about you. You know, if you can't become famous in a good way, so you'll become famous in a bad way. You go shoot somebody. So Pinchas says, I'm going to become a hero here. I'm going to kill a prominent person. Right? That was not his consideration. He saw a man and he saw a woman. So it was not a consideration who they are. I don't care who they are. And none of my motivation has to do with, wow, if I step in over here, it's like Dovid killing Goliath, boy, I'm going to become a national hero here. That has nothing to do with it. There's a man and woman doing something inappropriate. I don't care who they are. And the Torah has emphasized that was not his consideration. It's only after the fact, the Torah tells us their name, number one. Number two, there's another reason why you might not do it. There's a reason you might not do it. Maybe you're being intimidated by who they are. Like, oh, listen, I don't want to get involved with that. You got some big political intrigue over here. I'm not interested. These are some powerful people over here, and you might not do it. That also wasn't a consideration for Pinchas. I don't care what the ramifications are. They need dying. They used to say in the westerns, right? The guy shoots he needed dying real bad. Right? They needed dying, and so Pinchas takes action. That's what the Torah says. The Torah says there's no consideration. There's no hesitation on his part. That's why the Torah emphasizes. Now you'll notice this man's name is who is this Zimri ben Salu? So if you look earlier in the parsha, look at the beginning of Parshas Bamidbar, all the way to the beginning of Sefer Bamidbar. Okay, on page 726. Who is when it mentions the names of the people who are the heads of the tribes? On page 726, you look 5 lines from the bottom. L'Shimon, for the tribe of Shimon, what's his name? Shlumiel Ben Tzuri Shadoi. Where does the name Shlumiel come from?
Peace.
Shleimus, peace, completion. Who is the king who's called peace? Completion. We had a Jewish king. Shlomo. Shlomo. Why is he called Shlomo? Shlomo was the time when the Jewish people were at the pinnacle of success. The world was at peace. He had no wars. Dovid HaMelech couldn't build. Dovid HaMelech was disqualified from building the base of Mikdash, which he wanted to build because he had been involved in too many wars, blood spilling. Comes along Shlomo, and he brings the world to shleimus, completion. That's the most perfect state the world's ever been at. And by the way, that idea of Shlomo having 1,000 wives, why did he stop at 1,000? Why not 1,023? Why not 941? Right, well, there was 941 is not enough. 1,000 always represents the number of shleimus, any multiple of 10. And Shlomo HaMelech this is not a man who's out of control. A man who's out of control would not be writing Mishli and Koheles and Shir HaShirim and be considered one of the greatest people in Jewish history. He's a man who's trying to accomplish What was Ezra? What was your expression today? Something about world. The world.
Seeing the world as it is.
Yeah, something. He was trying to fix up the world and bring it to Shleimus. So this man Zimri, his name is really Shlumiel ben Tzuri Shadoi. He's got a goal over here, which is obviously a justification, and there's nothing as dangerous as religious justification. You know why I'm going to marry the shiksa? Has nothing to do with my own personal desires. Shlumiel, let's spread peace in the world. Let's all become one. Let's be united. Which is all great. Beautiful. Beautiful motivation. Terrific. What does the Torah say his name is? Zimri ben Sully. You know what Zimri means? Zimri means when you cut off branches off of a tree. And you end up Zimri gets cut off. He's cut off. You know why? What's her name? Kozbi bas Tzur. You know what the word Kozbi stands for? The Hebrew word kazav. You know what kazav is? Kazav is lie, a falsehood. Your whole motivation is false. Good try, and it's a good story, and it all sounds good. But at the end of the day, you get cut off because the entire thing's a falsehood. The entire thing's a falsehood. So your name is Shlumiel, and you got it all worked out. You got it all, and you convince everybody. You're telling a good story here. Yeah, you're making a nice excuse. Sounds so noble. You're going to move out of your comfort zone to do this, right? And you're going to reach out to her to perfect the world. That's terrific. In the end, you get cut off. And what do you call it? The whole thing is a lie. All right. Now I want to show you something very interesting. Take a look at the next section. All right, a very, very intriguing concept here. The Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe Lebor. Tzorores Hamidyonim. V'hikisem osam. They're going to go to war against the Midyanim. Now, the word soror over here means, according to the commentaries, that, and listen carefully, a remarkable concept. I heard this from Rav Schiller, the Rosh Yeshiva. In this context, when the Jewish people went to war, they would surround the enemies on 3 sides only. When they besieged the city, you only surround the enemies on 3 sides. Why did they do that?
To later,
Go ahead.
to let the people have an exit, so they can surrender and go out.
Yeah. So when Jews fight wars, even our wars are fought with a certain measure of compassion, right? That we're surrounding you, but we're giving you a chance to run. Okay? That's one opinion. There's another opinion, and therefore over here, sororis means don't leave that last flank open. That they're told you're going to fight the Midianites now, surround them. There's no compassion for the Midianites. They cause you to sin. They sent their daughters to go and try to entice you, and they cause you to sin. Therefore, there's not going to be any sort of compassion over here. Forget the compassion. Okay, that's one approach. There's another idea that when you leave a flank open, there's a certain reverse psychology here. And reverse psychology is that when you surround people completely, So then they're going to fight to the finish. They got nothing to lose now. They'll try to take as many of you as they can. It's not in your best interest to surround them. It's in your best interest to leave that flank open. Because them knowing that they could retreat if they want to, so then, okay, it takes some of the fight out of them. And therefore, for your own best, it's in your own best interest to leave that flank open to take that fight out of them. Now, this certainly applies in military warfare. But gentlemen, this applies in interpersonal relationships as well. And this is extremely important. When you're discussing something with somebody, and by the way, I am not an advocate of ever arguing with anybody about anything, because arguments don't get you anywhere. All the arguments do is they tire you out, and they drain you emotionally. But if you're trying to do, let's say you find somebody, you have a friend or a brother or a father, somebody who you'd like to interest in Yiddishkeit. So he presents his view of the world. Now, you mash him to pieces because he's talking utter nonsense, and you've got the truth on your side, and you know the truth. I had a guy once said to me, well, couldn't it be that the revelation at Sinai was actually some sort of monster holding the mountain over the Jewish people? So I said to the guy, first of all, could it be? I mean, I guess anything could be, would you bet on that? Or are you going to go with the likelihoods, number one? Number two, if it's a monster, so what's the nafka to you? What difference is it? Whoever can hold a mountain over your head, you better obey them. So what do you gain by saying it's a monster? Instead of Hashem, it's a monster, right? But the point is, you could take a guy and trash him, just totally destroy him. Or you could, sometimes people present an idea, okay, there might be some merit to that, this sort of thing. Leave him, let him say what they call, let him save face. Because if you close a person off, in all areas, so then a person just lashes out. This is particularly important, and I tell this to the ladies all the time, because it's more important for ladies than for men. Because in a husband and wife argument, a husband starts raising his voice, that means he knows he's wrong. That's usually the rule. That means his wife has painted him into a corner. Men don't like that. And I tell the ladies, leave him an honorable way of escaping, right? Give him, don't close people in. And if you close people in, you may win the argument. You know what's going to happen to you, especially when it comes to Yiddishkeit? Let's say you meet somebody and you start talking to them. And you really just close them in on all, say, you know what's going to happen? So you were right, but then this person walks away thinking I had an interaction with a religious person and it was unpleasant. And he's not thinking about what was said, he's thinking about what he experienced. And he experienced unpleasantness. And with unpleasantness, you don't bring anybody near. And so it's always important, don't close people in. And sometimes you're sitting at a Shabbos table and somebody says something and and everybody knows that what the person said was incorrect. You don't have to bury him. Let it go. Just let it go. Don't make it, don't turn it into, what do you call it? Just let it, and sometimes people start fighting, because they're, their own pride and their own dignity is at stake. And every human being has it. Don't close them in. Don't lock people in. And experience shows that the more you don't do that, the more people concede. I'll give you another example for when you're married. You should pay me for this, gentlemen. Let's say you and your wife have, this is not uncommon, especially among young married couples. You and your wife wants to go to her parents' house for Shabbos, and you want to go to your parents' house for Shabbos. Alternatively, you want to go anywhere but her parents' house for Shabbos, okay? But let's say you want to go to your parents' house, she wants to go to her parents' house for Shabbos. The harder you dig in, the more you dig in on your side, the more she's going to dig in on her side. And the minute you say, you say to your wife, you know what, you want to go to your parents? Okay, we'll go to your parents. You know what women are likely to do? As soon as you say, all right, you know what, I think we should go to your parents. I agree with you, we'll go to your parents. That what you know what, never mind, I don't really want to go. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to her parents that matters, it's that you agree with her that matters.
She doesn't want you to agree with her?
She wants you to agree with her. All she wants to know is that you're willing to give in to her. Once you give in to her, she couldn't care less. She couldn't care less. As far as you go spend Shabbos on Saturn as far as she's concerned. But as long as you're willing to give in to her, that's what she wants. She just doesn't want. She wants to know that she's also a person. And therefore, it is not a good strategy to close people in. That's the rule. That's what the Torah is teaching you over here. But here, where the Mitzrayim, where the Midianites need to be wiped out, so he says, "Soror Midianim." You have to surround them, and you have to defeat the Midianites. Okay. Take a look at Perik Chav Vav. You know, I don't even want to start this today. There's too much to start, and let it go. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue our Mitzvah next week.
Yeah.
We're on Perik Chav Vav Pasuk Lamed.